This is Southampton School.
Hello.
Richard's going to introduce himself and then we'll keep going with some questions.
Morning, ladies. You can hear me all right, can you?
Yeah.
Very good. And what are you eating, first of all?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Perfect time of the morning, really, for chocolate. Thanks so much for sharing. I'll just do a really quick introduction. My name is Richard Moross. I'm 36. I'm an entrepreneur and I run a business called moon.com, which is a digital business that sells printed products. So we essentially we make a product that's essentially been around for about 500 years, but we deliver it via the internet. We sell exclusively online. We allow customers to customize the product and design it themselves, and then we manufacture it for them and ship it to them anywhere in the world. We have customers in about 100 different countries. We have about 300 employees based across Europe and the USA. I went to Highgate School when I was a kid, so just down the road from you, and my sister went to Southampton. So I'm from North London, very much born and bred. That's my background.
Great, thanks. Who wants to kick off the first question?
What is having an opportunity company management?
I heard exactly nothing of that.
Oh, okay.
Or turn the microphone or get closer to it.
What is the challenge of having technology management?
Again, can't hear a word. Sorry. I think it's your We're here to talk about technology and it doesn't work.
If you could try typing the question into the chat box on the right hand side.
Okay. Okay, so.
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, you can hear me?
I can hear you. You are loud and clear.
She said, what are the challenges of online business and how does technology help you with it?
Okay, so great question. There are so many challenges of running an online business. There are so many challenges of running a business full stop. But probably the biggest thing that an internet business gives you, a technology business gives you, is access to millions of people. If you start a shop, let's say you open a shop, or you open a bakery, or you open a restaurant of some kind, you're really limited to the people that walk past the front door. You're limited to the neighborhood that you're in, you're limited to the amount of people that can drive up to your shop and come in and taste your delicious chocolate breakfast, whatever you're selling to customers. Whereas if you have an internet business, you have a technology business, your shop is almost infinite in terms of the people that it can sell to and serve. Because the internet is distributed through most of the countries of the world, because so many people have access to the internet through their phones, through computers, at school, wherever they might be. The thing that technology really unlocks is the distribution to millions and millions of people around the world, and now at an incredibly small cost to actually do those things. So without access to technology, without the internet as this platform, there's no way that we could sell to the millions of customers that we have sold. I hope that answers the question.
Good question, thanks. Do you have another one?
In your this gender type of role in businesses.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind repeating it closer to the mic. We've got a really good sound before.
In your experience, does gender affect the type of role you will play in businesses?
Did you hear me? That?
In your experience, just general.
We're asking different genders in business if you see that there's a difference between different genders.
Oh, genders.
Our school.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that there's definitely inequality, and it needs to be redressed because there's no reason why one gender should succeed more than another. I mean, if I think about women who sit on boards of big businesses, there's still a massive inequality. If you think about women represented in even in politics, it's still an inequality. I think we're actually about 55% women at Move. There was a time when our tech team had more women than men in it. It's a long time ago, but I think there is gender inequality. I'd love to see that addressed. I'd love to see more women on boards. We have only one on our board. I'd love to see that increased over time. I think it's a problem. I think more women should be encouraged to start businesses. I think getting more women into technology early on, I think, is a fantastic thing. There's no reasons why women should be better represented in business and in technology. So I'd love to see that addressed. I don't have any particular solutions to it, but the fact that you're all here today, I think, is a great first step. Despite the fact that we can't get the microphone to work very well, technology is today for us.
Great, thanks. Next question.
How do you feel everything there are like physical things around everything?
I'll try and repeat your question. I only heard every other word, so it's a bit like kind of trying to fill in the blanks a bit. Were you asking about technology replacing physical things?
Yeah.
In the world? So it's a great question because we see it happening very sort of slowly before our eyes. It's a great question also because we're in the business of selling a product which potentially could be eclipsed by technology. And I think it's very worrying. The things I think about in my life are, what are we going to put on our bookshelves in 50 years? Will there be bookshelves? Or are people only ever going to read on Kindles and iPads? For the first time ever this year, sales of ebooks eclipsed sales of physical books. And I think that's quite sad. There's something very nice about actually owning something physical and keeping it in your house, or being able to lend it to a friend, or be written in by your parents or by a friend on their birthday. Something that, you know, is old, where you go into an antique bookshop and you see a book and how it's aged and how it's been used and which corners have been folded down, which you lose because the internet and internet technology and software doesn't have that same effect as a physical item. So I'm worried about it as a consumer, because I'm worried that there's going to be nothing in my house in the future. What will the house in the future have? It won't have any books in it. It won't have posters on the walls. It won't have films, libraries of films of things. What will it have? It won't have, you know, photos. Maybe they'll all be on screens. Will the home of the future just be one big LED screen with, you know, pictures of stuff that I digitally downloaded? I think that scares the hell out of me. But I think there's also opportunities for companies like us and others out there to build products, physical products that are sort of genuinely useful in the age of technology and that can survive and be kind of around for years to come. So I think it's a threat, and I think there's also a really interesting opportunity as well. What do you think?
I think it would be cool if everything was in the future, because I mean, you have back to a less likely, but at the same time, weird technology items.
I got every other word, but it sounded like a very smart PA.
Cool. Can we have another question, please? Could you ask it as close to the microphone as possible? Sorry, we're having a little trouble.
I'd like to know the computing you did at school.
What I did at school?
In terms of computing, and what did you do at school to help kind of...
I didn't. Unlike many other people that you might meet or might speak to or hear from as part of this initiative, I didn't study computer science. I wish I did. Emily did, and she's all the smarter for it. But I always had computers in my life. My dad always had a computer for his work. When my dad, he also had like the world's first mobile phone, which was in a suitcase, and he brought this suitcase, and I was like, "What's in the suitcase?" And he's like, "It's a phone." You can imagine the mobile phones that you all have in your pockets now were connected to a kind of literally a suitcase with a handle and a cable on it, and that's how you spoke on a mobile phone. It was a different world back then. He brought home what was one of the world's first laptop computers, which was again a suitcase with a keyboard peeled off the front, and it was about this big. And I was really excited by that stuff, and I always kind of played with computers in in my spare time. And when they arrived at school and when we saw the first glimpses of the internet, I was always very excited by that. So as a consumer and as a kind of human being, I was always interested in technology, but I didn't study it. I really wish I had. I studied geography, English, and politics for my A-levels at Highgate School around the corner from you lot. And then I did philosophy and politics for my degree. And I was a terrible, terrible student. And I'm not recommending that you shy away from your studies. Most of the people that I'm friends with who've done very well in life are very good at school. And more so the people I think who've been very successful as entrepreneurs who I've met in recent years have computer sciences as a background. So I think studying code, and it sounds like it's becoming a much more mandatory part of education going forward. I think it's incredibly important. I feel a bit like someone going to live in a foreign country who doesn't really speak the language. And I think you can be successful as a person that goes and moves to another country and doesn't speak the language, but you'll never be as successful as a person that is fluent or has learned it as a second language. So I think it's very important.
Great question. Okay, next one.
If you had a time and could go back into any point,
Sorry, could you move
what technology? Sorry?
Can we get
Can you hear
to
me?
the mic? Yes, can.
Okay, if you had a time
Yep.
and could go to any point in the last, what technology would you most like to have been involved with developing?
I didn't hear the time span, but in a way it's not as important because I have a good answer anyway, and it was in the last few hundred years. I just read a really interesting book called Longitude, which was the story of a chap called John Harrison, who essentially created a way of measuring longitude. So longitude is, latitude is very easy to establish based on I think the sun or something like that, but longitude was impossible, and it was very difficult to travel long distances by sea without being able to effectively manage time. And he essentially invented the first sort of accurate pocket watch. And it's an amazing story. He's a British guy. There was a huge prize involved in discovering how to measure longitude. So it was a fundamental discovery that's changed the way that we travel internationally, particularly by sea initially. And it was a British invention and is somewhat responsible for the creation of the Meridian Line at Greenwich, and London and the UK being the centre of time around the world, which I think is quite a nice thing that we have. It's quite special.
That's really interesting. Thanks. Next question.
I have a question for you lot. I don't want you to ask me a question. I have a question. I will ask you questions for the next few minutes. I'd like to know, and I'd like the real answer, what you would all like to be doing in 10 years. And not the showy answer if your teacher's there, and not the, I want to be a CEO of a business. Genuinely, what you'd like to be doing in 10 years. You'll have to speak very close to the mic.
I quite like to be like
I didn't hear that. Sorry, we've got these terrible mic problems. It's really bad. I'm sorry.
Guys.
I'd like technology at Microsoft, something like that.
At Microsoft, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. And what type of technology do you like to work on? The internet, or would you like to mobile phones? What area?
Software, so things that are helpful to people in everyday life, like Microsoft kind of thing.
Okay. Interesting. People at a young age and
Software
doing
engineering.
Software engineering, yeah. Can anyone top that?
Really? I would be a researcher.
Okay. What type of research? I didn't hear the first bit.
Math.
Maths research?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty hardcore. Okay. Maths research, excellent.
Lainey?
I hope to like a designer.
Okay. Did I hear designer? Did you say designer?
No, like a computer design engineer, like software and hardware.
Cool. That's very cool.
Okay. It's the end of term, it's Friday morning. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. We're back.
So, do you want to ask another question, or Richard, would you like to ask them another?
No, I'm good. I've been very interested by your answers. I'm trying to think what I would have said back then. I probably would have said I'll still be at school trying to finally get my degree.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Can't hear anything.
Could you repeat that, please?
Given that you sell like a real tangible product, how do you get the quality of that across on an online business?
It's a really good question. So I think if I heard the question correctly, it was about if you're making something physical, how do you describe the quality you're trying to sell it online? So good, it's great, 10-4. I think it really comes down to merchandising it properly, and by that I mean what we do is we look at what a number of fashion businesses do to show how the clothes look online. So if you think about how ASOS shows clothes, typically it will show it on a model rather than a mannequin. It will photograph it well. It will use nice-looking people. It will, if it's showing off a jacket, it will show off with a nice shirt and trousers. I know this sounds very obvious, but in the world that we work in, which is printed products, greeting cards, postcards, they're quite one-dimensional. They're quite boring to look at. So we need to think of ways, and we borrow from the world of fashion to kind of dress them up and look them a bit more exciting. So we'll inject humour, we'll inject a lot of art direction. So the people that work in our creative team have background in fashion and photography and other things like that. So we kind of blend an unusual world of fashion together with our quite sort of boring world of print, and hopefully that conveys a number of the qualities. We also use photographic techniques. We use very high-end cameras to capture the grain of paper or to capture the colour accurately. So we essentially borrow from one world or steal from one world to highlight the benefits of another world. And that's kind of how we approach it.
Okay, thanks very much. I think that's probably all we've got time for. Thanks for Shalom said, and thanks Richard.
Thanks guys, really interested. Good luck in your 10-year journeys.
Merry Christmas.
Enjoy the rest of your chocolate.
Bye-bye.